initiates with a vision to make some product, service, or a result for any organization, right? So it starts with the initial step where we develop the project charter. Develop project charter is the 4.1, the first process in the project integration management chapter. So here we get the project charter. The project charter is a document which formally authorizes a project's existence, and it lists the high level deliverable of the project for management. So taking this project charter as input, we start planning our scope. So in the first process of the scope management is plan scope management. So what are the um, policies, procedures for scope management? How we will validate and finalize those requirements of a project? These sort of decisions are made in the plan scope management process. Number two is collect requirements. So in this process, we collect all the requirements from the users or the customers, and then we analyze in light of the scope, which should be in the scope, which is not in the scope, which requirement is required to deliver the project, but the customer has not provided as a requirement. We need to also advocate that requirements to be listed, and this is the collect requirement process. Then once we have collected all the requirements, from there we define the scope. So in defining the scope, we exclude the requirements which are not supported by the project charter, and we include all the requirements which needs to be included to deliver the deliverables. So that defines the scope, and we get the project scope statement as an output. Once the scope is defined, the next process is to create the WBS. So now the scope is defined. Now we need to chalk our work plan. Then we need to finalize what we will be, how we will be delivering the project. What are the work packages that is required. So the fourth process is create WBS, work breakdown structure. Once the work breakdown structure is done, you get all the tree structure of your deliverable versus work packages structure, and then you can move on with your plan. So in the scope management, once the WBS is done and we are following the WBS, we are delivering according to the plan, we come up to a situation when we have the developed deliverable. Then we need to validate it with the customer. So the fifth process in the scope management process group is the validate scope. That is, you have developed the delivery. It has already passed the internal testing with the internal verification within the team. Now it's ready to be validated by the customer themselves. And all along this period, we need to control our scope. So by that, what we mean is we don't deliver anything beyond the scope baseline which we got from the create WBS, and we don't skip anything that is in the WBS. So we need to ensure that we do anything that is finalized in the WBS, and we exclude anything that is not in the WBS. So that is the control. Now that you have your WBS and you know what you are doing, you do have a base to prepare for your scheduling. So in the schedule management knowledge area, first we will be talking about plan schedule management, policies, procedures, what will be the units of measure, is it an hourly plan, weekly plan, or monthly or daily plan, how frequent we will be managing the project performance, what are the control thresholds, those sort of policy level decisions will be made in the plan schedule management. So once we are done from the WBS, what we can get is we can now decompose these work packages into activities. So the second process in the schedule management is define the activities. So what are the activities that will deliver the work package and hence the deliverable, and the collection of the deliverable is the project. So that is the defined activity process. Once you have the activities defined, you then can sequence those activities. By sequencing, what we mean is which activities needs to be done in parallel, which can be done in parallel, which needs to end together, which needs to start together, which task cannot start if an earlier predecessor is not complete, that is series activities. So those sort of dependency analysis we can do, and we can get a sequence of activities. So if we have the sequence of activities, then we might have something like this: A, B, C, and A is in parallel. B, after B, D is done and the project is completed. So we can have a sequence, sort of sequence network diagram. Now, once we are done with the sequencing, we need to know the estimate of activities duration. So estimate activity duration is the fourth process in the planned schedule management. So you need to know how many days or months or weeks A, B, C and D tasks in your project requires. So there are some techniques for identifying the estimations and all. So once you have the estimates for each of the tasks or activities, then only you can develop your schedule. So the fifth process is develop schedule. With all these inputs, you can develop your schedule. So here you can identify what is the length of your project, what is the critical path to complete your project, what are the tasks that can be we can capitalize on to get some resources free. The float, the slack concepts, those are built in here. So you have a schedule developed, which most of us when we start any project management, we do design a Gantt chart based on Excel or Microsoft Project or something. So that is this one. So you have developed your schedule. After developing a schedule, you just have to control your schedule so that you don't skip or you don't lapse your time so much that you are facing trouble to manage all the activities within time. So that is control schedule. So these are the 6 processes in the project schedule management. You have your WBS, activity level breakdown and the schedule. You now have a base to deduce your cost or budget for the project. Now the first process in the project cost management is plan cost management. Here we define the policies, procedures, how the project will be funded, how it will be financed, like what will be the debt versus equity, how the funding will be done, when we need how much funding. This sort of policy level structure will be done in the plan cost management. You also need to identify the currency and units of measure. Once you have done this and you have defined activities and their durations, you can take these as input and you can develop your estimation for task. So estimate cost. So once you are done with estimating all the cost of all the activities, then you can determine the budget. Determine your budget. So once the budget is ready, you have the baseline to manage your performance of your team or yourself as a project manager. So the fourth process is your control cost. So in control cost, what you do is you look after the cost, how much of the work is done, how much of the actual cost you have incurred, and what was the plan. You always keep yourself monitored against a scale. So that is control cost. You don't want to overrun your profit. Now that you have your scope, schedule and cost baselines, you can now define your quality parameters. What are the quality requirements? So the plan quality management basically answers what is the quality. What is the quality of my project? So we define the quality of each of the deliverables in plan quality management, and then we execute it while we are working, and we monitor across that. So number 2 process, manage quality, talks about managing the quality as per plan while working. Suppose whether you are if you have said that while working on the field, an engineer must have a safety cap. So that's a quality management, which we call sort of quality assurance. So this managed quality is answering the questions, are we executing the work as per the plan? And then third process is control quality. Control quality is post, once the deliverable is delivered, whether we have delivered the right quality or wrong quality. So this process talks about the controlling of the quality, how many of your deliverables has complied with the quality requirement. You cannot run a project without resources, be it human resource or material. So you need to have resources. So the plan resource management being the number one process in this knowledge area, plan resource management, it gives you what type of resource we need, what are the roles we need to fill up, what are the eligibility criteria for that role or that responsibility, what is the education experience requirement for that particular role. Those questions are answered in plan resource management. Then you need to have another process which is estimate activity resource. So to perform one activity, what type of resources we need and how long do we need them for. So you need to have a estimate activity resources. So if you have this one, then it also helps you to estimate cost for an activity. Then once you have the plan resource management, you know the roles to be filled in, you know the responsibilities, criteria of that particular roles, and then you are ready for acquiring a resource. So the third process is acquire resource. Here we follow acquiring a resource might be through interview or maybe from internally filled, from networking, pre-assigned. All in all, to fill in the position as per the plan resource management is acquiring resource. So once you have acquired a resource, you might need to develop a resource. So a resource development is not only limited to training a resource. The bonding creation or onboarding the new team member into the team is also part of a developed team. So how fast you can develop, you can deliver with your team depends on how quickly you develop your resources and you develop your team. So the fourth process is actually the develop team. Now, assuming that you have acquired resources as per the plan and you have developed a team as you have planned. Now what you want? You want the work to be done perfectly, right? So for that, you need to manage the team. So evaluating the performance of the team members and giving them feedback and continually motivating them and also trying to get the best out of them is what you do. The last process in the project resource management is control resource. So in control resource, what you do is you make sure that what resources were planned, they are available or that is available. So if you have planned for a meeting room for your team members to sit and work on for one week, you make sure that you have that room. You make sure that the tool you have requested is on board. So this is what you do in your control resource process. The sixth constraint is left, that is risk. So you might have risk associated with your scope, your schedule, your cost, your quality, your resource. You can have risk associated with any of these, right? So for that you need to have, you need to follow few processes. Number one, like any other knowledge area, plan risk management. So here you define how you will be conducting the risk management activities and all. Number two process is identify the risk. You sit with the SMEs, the stakeholders, and you identify what risks are there. Maybe it's on the scope, maybe it's on an activity, maybe it's on the schedule, it might be on the quality or resource, and hence on the cost as well. So you then identify the risk. Now, once you do an identification of risk, you might end up with identifying hundreds of risks. but as a project manager, you might not either have the budget capacity, or maybe you might not have the appetite to manage all the risk. So you need to prioritize them based on their probability, likelihood, the significance, how impacting they are, or those phenomena. That process is called perform qualitative analysis. So there you do the assessment qualitatively, and you rank your risk accordingly. So priority wise, you can have the, as output you can have a prioritized risk board. Once you have this qualitative risk, now what you need to do, you need to know how much of a contingency plan you need to do for each of the risk. Or suppose a risk, negative risk, if it occurs, you'll be losing $10,000. So do you keep $10,000 as your contingency, or how much? You need to have a scientific method for that. So for that you have a perform quantitative risk analysis, where the concept of expected monetary value comes into picture, and we can quantify how much time or money we need to keep for our identified risk, and that is also an input for your cost estimates, because you need to keep your budget for the contingencies as well. The identified risk, you need to put some budget for that. That is not keeping buffer, that is a well structured contingency plan for your identified risk. So you have done it, you have identified your risk, you have prioritized your risk, and you have quantified what amount you need to have for your risk. Now you need to plan the risk response. So what would I do to manage each risk? What would be my response for each risk, be it negative or positive? We usually call negative risk threats and positive risk opportunity. So in either case, we need to plan response for each risk. So once you have planned for the response, the next obvious process is implement risk response. So here you just implement whatever plan you have made for your identified risk, and you have prepared the response for those. You implement those. Finally, you do monitor your risk. So here what we do is we monitor the significance of the risk, whether it is increasing or decreasing, whether is there any residual risk after we have already implemented the risk response. Those sort of thing we do in the monitor risk process. So summarizing, we have reviewed 6 processes in scope management, 6 processes in schedule management, 4 in cost management, 3 in quality, 6 in resources, and 7 in risk. So that gives us 32 processes out of 49. So we have reviewed our 6 project constraints and their associated processes. Now let's move on to rest 3, which are procurement, communication, and stakeholder. If you want to procure, you need to know when to procure, what to procure, how much of it to be procured, whether it is a product, it's a service, or something like that. So that is defined in the plan procurement management. Now you may have identified some sellers, prospective sellers, in the plan procurement management process as well. Then once you are done with that, you need to execute it, or you need to conduct your procurement. So RFI, RFQ, the bidders conference, anything you do till contract signing as per the plan is your conduct procurement. So output of this process is you have a selected seller for your procurement, be it product or service. Now, once you have done with your conducting of your procurement, the last thing you need to do is control procurement. Control procurement is my seller delivering according to the plan, according to the contract I have awarded the seller. That is your control procurement. So these 3 processes builds the procurement knowledge area. Moving on to communication management. Then again, you need to have a plan what to communicate, when to communicate, and whom to communicate. Maybe you need to also know what is the frequency, what is the mode of the communication to each stakeholder. So that is defined in your plan communication management process. Once you have the plan, you need to manage the communication, that is executing as per the communication plan. So have I sent the report to the sponsor bi-weekly? Has the project communication been sent to the project team every day by 9:30? Has it been done? Have we restored all the communications in our project database? These are all part of managed communication. Then you need to monitor your communication. Take a case, as a project manager, you might want some stakeholder not to communicate with some specific stakeholder. You prefer to do that, and you also might need to have some stakeholders always at sync. Maybe you want two of your resources to be always synced. What resource A knows, resource B does know. So you have to monitor their communication. You arrange them in that fashion. So you don't want uh, communications that are meant for a sponsor to be leaked to the team. You don't want project team's communication to be supplied to the sponsor or maybe the higher authorities. So that is your monitoring communication. So communication cannot be one way. You need to communicate to someone, right? So they are your stakeholders. So you need to understand who are your stakeholders to communicate, and also to perform your work, your scope identification, schedule management, cost management, risk identification. You need the stakeholders. So to communicate also you need the stakeholders. So in the stakeholder management, you do first identify the stakeholders. What are their roles in the organization, how significant they are in the project, what is their authority, power. You do assess that in your identify stakeholder process. Then when you have that, you can plan stakeholder engagement, not management. You cannot manage a stakeholder, you can manage engagement, how they are engaged with your project. Is their engagement positive or negative? Do you want them to be engaged or you don't want them to be engaged? Those sort of the stuff you plan in your plan stakeholder engagement. Then once you are done with that, you do manage your plan, and that is manage your stakeholder engagement. So to engage the particular stakeholder, say for example, for your project you want to keep your sponsor always informed of the milestones delivered, so that he is informed and he or she is always satisfied. So have you done that? The initiatives, the plan that you have made for him or her, have you executed that? That is part of your managed stakeholder engagement. So you don't want to make someone who is positive for your project negative. You don't want them to be resistive to your project, right? So you do the managed stakeholder engagement. And fourth is monitor stakeholder engagement. That is, you monitor the stakeholder engagement status here. Like if a stakeholder is supportive for your project, are they becoming neutral or resistive? Are they becoming non-value-adding for you? Or if there are some already resistive stakeholders, do you want them to know about your project or do you want them not to know about the project? So you monitor those in the monitor stakeholder engagement. Remember, we started all these with the develop project charter. So we started everything with the develop project charter where we got the mandate for the project. Then we planned everything for all the knowledge areas, and that gave us the develop project management plan. And once we have developed the project management plan, we then directed and managed our work according to the plan, be it scope, be it schedule, be it cost, or any knowledge area. So the third process in the project integration management is direct and manage project work. I'm sure you are following the provided file. Now, once you have directed it to the direction you want to, you also in the course of time you manage knowledge, right? You gain knowledge while working in the project, and you have knowledge repositories, you impose those while working. So managing knowledge, project knowledge is also the fourth process in the project integration management. You do the monitoring and control of the project work. So you monitor your scope, schedule, cost, quality, risk, resource. You have monitoring for all the knowledge areas, right? And what you did not do till now is perform integrated change control. That means a change in the cost, is it impacting my schedule? Is it impacting my scope? Is it impacting my quality, risk? Do I need to change my communication plan accordingly? Do I need to inform my stakeholders accordingly? Do I need to assess a stakeholder again as per that plan? That is the perform integration change control. And lastly but not least, close project or the phase. So these are the 7 knowledge areas in the project integration management. If you refer to our previous video, we have categorically mentioned that integration management is the ultimate thing that a project manager does. So it's all across the knowledge areas. You cannot say that I have integrated scope, I have integrated schedule, cost. You need to integrate all these 9 knowledge areas, and scope integration management being your integrator of the project is your 10th knowledge area, which is the chapter 4 of PMBOK6, by the way. So this is the relationship, interrelationship of project knowledge areas, 10 knowledge areas. And if you now count back, you will find the 49 processes that we have covered. So up until this we had 32. For the procurement management we did 3, for communication we did 3, for stakeholder we did 4, and integration we did 7. So 15. So 15 plus 32 is 49. So these are the 49 processes in the PMBOK. Hope you have got a good grip of what the content of the 49 processes are. Thank you for watching this video. I hope this video helps you in understanding the PMP project management professional knowledge areas and their processes at a high level.